Hello and welcome back to Heart of the Holte. I'm riding solo today, but there has been an exciting development in Aston Villa's transfer window regarding Matteo Guendouzi. According to L'Equipe, a club have approached Marseille from the Premier League and are interested in bringing Matteo Guendouzi to the Premier League, and that club is reportedly Aston Villa. How true is that? I'm not sure. L'Equipe are a fairly reliable source out there in France, and maybe we're adding one and one and getting three here, but Unai Emery actually signed Matteo Guendouzi at Arsenal back in 2018, and he had heaps of praise that he laid on this player when he signed him initially. He said, "Listen, he's got big potential. He's gained good first team experience with Lorient. Obviously, they got relegated this season. They signed him, or the summer they signed him. They just got relegated to Ligue 2, and he played the season there." He has big potential. He's getting great first team experience. He wants to learn and improve and be an important member of our first team squad. Now, most of you guys will be aware of Matteo Guendouzi. Obviously, he had his two seasons at Arsenal before being loaned out to Hertha Berlin and then Marseille before Marseille actually purchased him. He's a bit of a fiery hothead character, and it's interesting because if you look at the numbers, all of the underlying stats are fantastic. Matteo Guendouzi is a quality player, and I'm sure everybody who's watching this is well aware of how good this guy can be and how exciting this link is as a result of that. However, it didn't quite work out. There was a bit of an ego to him. He seemed like a bit of a troublemaker. He was quite an arrogant type, or at least that's the way he was portrayed. And as we've seen with Mikel Arteta's project at Arsenal, he wasn't going to stand for any of that. So he made sure he got rid of him fairly swiftly as soon as he kind of came in charge, because that's not the type of character that he wants. In his current Arsenal team, you see it's a very young side. They're very impressionable, and you kind of get the sense that, at least from what we've sort of been fed, the narrative on Matteo Guendouzi, he's a bit of a rogue, he's a bit of a bad boy, and that's why Mikel Arteta didn't want him. So there are maybe some alarm bells flashing there, but what interests me here is obviously Unai Emery seemed to have rated his character and ability clearly enough to bring him to the Premier League from the depths of Ligue 2 in France. Now, I think the one thing that you absolutely have to respect Matteo Guendouzi for is his desire to win. This guy is, in the politest way possible, a bastard, and he knows what it takes to win. And he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder, which I think it can be deemed as a bad thing, but it can also be deemed as a good thing if we're being completely honest. Matteo Guendouzi is a player that quite clearly has a point to prove, and a move back to the Premier League to an Aston Villa could be his perfect rehab in terms of, rebuilding his reputation back in what is the most competitive league in European football, because this guy's too good to be playing in France. Let's just have it straight. So it's really interesting. Now, so far this season, he's averaged a match rating of 6.54 according to Infogol. He's made 12 starts, 3 appearances off the bench, totaling 1,151 minutes. None of that really matters. Now, it's, again, what's really intriguing about this is the third midfielder we've now gone to Marseille to sign. Obviously, my beloved Morgan Sanson. Didn't really get to chat about him because Dan and I didn't do a podcast on the Stevenage game, but I think that's probably best left in the past. Shout out to Morgan Sanson. But, I mean, currently between Morgan and Buba, we've got a 50% success rate on midfielders from Marseille. So the odds are heavily stacked in Guendouzi's favour of him coming to the Villa and being a success. I think it's fair to say this signing adds depth in a position where it really needs it. When we spoke about Weston McKennie a week or so ago, there was some great debate in the comments. So make sure you continue that in the comment section of this video. But there was plenty of you guys who were unsure whether he is better than what we currently have or what kind of value he would actually add to the squad. But I think we're forgetting that Morgan Sanson and Marvelous Nakamba are both surplus to requirements. So that's 2 players immediately who Villa are probably going to be looking to get off their books. Now, if not in the summer, you're immediately too light there. Now, I personally believe that Weston McKennie is more than capable of competing and challenging with the likes of Dougie and Buba in that double pivot. It goes without saying that Matteo Guendouzi walked straight into this Aston Villa team. At the expense of who? I'm not sure at the moment, if I'm being completely honest. Buba and Guendouzi obviously they have history. They've both played together at Marseille as well. So this is a really exciting potential pivot that we could have of the two lads from the south of France. That's really exciting. They've got that chemistry. They've got that rapport. Obviously, we sort of expected that with Sanson as well, but it's quite clear he was never going to play. But coming in, having that connection instantly, he knows what the intensity of the Premier League is like, which is also really important. I don't believe it would take too long for him to adjust to life back in England. And again, what I find really interesting is I was looking at the passing stats, right? Because that's crucial. It's going to be crucial for this midfield pivot, right? Not only do you have to be dynamic and you have to cover plenty of distance, which Guendouzi certainly does, but the pass accuracy has to be there. Now, in his final season at Arsenal, Matteo Guendouzi had a completed pass success rate of 87.8%. That's the highest in his entire career, okay? And the season before at Arsenal, it was 86.7%. So he actually did improve on that year on year. That has dropped slightly, ever so slightly, to 84.6%. However, that firmly puts him at the best passer out of any of Aston Villa's midfielders that we currently have, which is really important to note. And looking at FBref, you guys know I swear by FBref. It's one of my favourite tools to analyse players and to look for the underlying stats. Over the past year, they've got that pass completion down at 85.2%. He's creating, that's per 90. He's averaging 2.99 shot creating actions per 90, which is, again, we're going to add to that the average shots that he's managing per 90, 1.38. This guy is constantly looking to drive the ball forward, to create chances, and to even try and score chances himself. He's attempted 56.59. Sorry, he's attempted 56.59 passes per 90 as well. So you can tell he's somebody who relishes being on the ball, relishes creating chances, and in that double pivot, it could be a very vital asset. Now, back to FBref. They compare the players, they have the metrics, and they pull together 10 players who are incredibly similar. At the top of that list is Luka Modric, and then you've got other players like Granit Xhaka, Seko Fofana, if you know, you know, Ilkay Gundogan, Frenkie de Jong, amongst a few others. But what really jumped to me from these comparisons, these are all incredibly industrious midfielders. Now, that's exactly what Villa need. You know, that in this 4-2-2 formation that we've been playing, the emphasis is entirely on the double pivot, right? You have to get that base right. That foundation has to be solid. They need to be able to not only cover the fullbacks when they're attacking, because that's where the width comes from, but they need to be confident in when they receive the ball on the half turn that they can pick out the passes to the likes of Emi Bundia, to the likes of Phil Coutinho, to the likes of Danny Ings, whoever those 4 forward players may be. They have probably the hardest job, and I'd probably say the most responsibility on them as well, in terms of getting Villa on the front foot and attacking, especially when you look at how the fullbacks look to push on. You know, ideally, I think from a goal kick, the way that Unai Emery wants to play, the fullbacks are going to be way higher. The ball comes out to the centre halves. Immediately, that goes to the two in midfield, that double pivot. They are the ones responsible with starting the attacks, with maintaining possession as well. And Matteo Guendouzi is the perfect player for that. He is an absolutely fantastic player. As well, he's receiving on average 3.62 progressive passes per 90, and he's averaging 2.5 touches in the attacking penalty area per 90 as well, which is fantastic. That puts him within the top 11 percentile of midfielders over the past year, so it's not too shabby. Now, there will be a fee that comes to this. There hasn't been a fee really reported, but I would imagine that Matteo Guendouzi probably costs you around £25 million at the very least. Do I think that's £25 million well spent? Absolutely. This guy is a gem. And, you know, we mentioned at the top of the podcast the arrogance, the chip on the shoulder, the bit of bravado that surrounds his persona. I think that can be interpreted in a good way. I think Aston Villa are too nice. I really do. I think Matteo Guendouzi comes in and immediately the levels of shithousery go up a notch. I mean, they went up a notch after Emi came back from the World Cup as well. This man came back with vengeance. But Villa need winners, and Villa need just horrible, horrible players. And what I really like about this as well, you look at Unai Emery's Villarreal side, the side that he built. Obviously, he was on much more of a budget, but you look at some of the players that were brought in. your Etienne Capoue, Juan Foyth. He had Giovanni Lo Celso on loan, Francis Coquelin. All of these guys, I think it's fair to say, are Premier League rejects. He brought in players who he knew he could trust, who, above all else, would put in 110%, regardless of what that 110% transpired into in terms of technical ability. And it's really admirable. They're a very honest side, Villarreal. And that's what Aston Villa need to start to become. And I do think Matteo Guendouzi has it in him. And I think he has the point to prove where he'll come in and he can be someone that Unai Emery can rely on. Is it a gamble? Absolutely. Is it one that Villa should probably take? Yes, because there's teams out there that are going to be taking a look at Guendouzi. Your Newcastle's, for example, right? They're on the cusp of Champions League football. Now, there's no solid link, but if Newcastle aren't eyeing up Matteo Guendouzi, then I'm not really sure what their scouting department's doing. They need to make a statement signing in January to maintain this momentum that they've got. So if Villa can get a Guendouzi in the January window, we're talking about Moreno getting done soon as well. It's very exciting times to be an Aston Villa fan. That's for sure. And we'll all have forgotten about the Stevenage defeat when, we've signed a few players. Hopefully we beat Leeds on Friday. And I just think this is a fantastic signing. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below on this signing, on Matteo Guendouzi. If we have any French or Marseille fans, get in the comments. Let us know how he's been as well from your perspective. Any Arsenal fans as well. We always know Arsenal fans are fairly active on socials and are probably watching this one right now. So let us know what you guys thought of Guendouzi at his time during Arsenal. And guys, we're so close to 10k. It is a joke. You guys have been showing the channel so much love recently. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Up the Villa.